Welcome in to the Slating Rink, week 4 of the NFL season. I am your host, Chad Rink. You can check me out at X at Chad Ocho Rinko. If you're watching this on YouTube, please smash that like button, as the kids would say. Subscribe to the FanStream Sports channel. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can also watch at fanstreamsports.com, this show and all the other great content that FanStream Sports puts out. If you want to download the app, you can do that, Android and Apple, and any other streaming service that you do get your sports content. So we are here at week 4 of the NFL season. This slate is a pretty interesting slate. There's some good games on the slate, a couple really nice spots that I like to target for any kind of stacking that we will do. Last week did not cash. Last week was the first week it did not cash on any of the main slates. First 2 weeks we did cash a little bit. Last week we just did not get there. So going into week 4, we're going to cover each position by position. Is going to be a little different than what I've done before. I went game by game. Going to also try something a little different here by adding this. I got the DraftKings up, and then we will just kind of go position by position. Some of the spots I like, some that I don't like, and then we can even create a lineup on that. So let's dive in here. At the quarterback spot, you have 3 quarterbacks that are over 7,000. Josh Allen is the highest quarterback at 7,700, followed by Lamar Jackson at 7,500. Your usual suspects at that price. And then you've got Daniels at 7,000, but just got word that he is going to be out along with Terry McLaurin. So the Commanders team is going to look a little different this week, so there might be some value we can find there. So of the 2 spend ups, again, I'm not a guy that likes to spend up a lot on the quarterback spot, but if you do, I think I prefer Jackson than Allen. This Saints Bills game, it could just go weird. I think Buffalo's going to win. They'll win handily. It could be something where they are up a lot in the fourth quarter. They pull their starters. They just going to run the ball. But if they get up 41, like Allen could rush in 2 touchdowns too and throw for 2. So I just don't know how this game is going to go. Again, I'm not going to probably pay up for either of them, but I think if I have to pay up for one, it would be Lamar Jackson. With Daniels out, then you're looking at second week with Marcus Mariota. He last week was at 4,000. They did price him up to 5,000 this week, which is still a value if you want to go back to Mariota. If you look last week, he was very efficient, almost 72% passing, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. He did have 6 attempts for 40 yards, and he ran 1 in. So Mariota's going to give you that rushing upside. Without McLaurin there, I think his targets are going to be very concentrated. He did not target Ertz very much last week, but I think he could do it this week. And then I think it could be a big Deebo Samuel week here as well, because they continue to use him in the running game since Eckler has been out. But that's not a game I'm really going to target, unless I think if I target a side, it's going to be Atlanta. We'll talk about that here in a minute. The next tier of quarterbacks in the 6,000 range, you've got Hurts at 6,700, Baker at 6,500. He's got the Q tag, but I believe he's going to play. I don't think there's any issue of him missing this week. It's just a bicep, so that he's Baker Mayfield. He's playing. Jared Goff at 6,400 against that Cleveland defense. I'm not a big Goff guy. I did play him against the Bears because I think you just play quarterbacks against the Bears defense, but against the Browns, I'm off pretty much all the lines this week. That could be a slugfest, lower scoring game. Herbert at 6,300 is a good price. He has been quite good this year. They are playing the Giants, they can get to the quarterback, but that could just give Herbert that little extra upside in the running game. I believe Purdy should be back this week, is what they were talking about. He's progressing to return to action on Sunday. So he can be back in play. I don't think if I'm taking anyone from the Niners, I think it's just going to be McCaffrey. I would pay up for him. And then you've got Mahomes against the Ravens. Now, Mahomes has not looked great this year, but he's still low end QB1 in fantasy because he has been running a lot more this year because their run game is bad. I think I'm going to stay off Mahomes until Worthy and Rice are back. I think Worthy may be coming back this week, but I think I'm going to wait. I think Mahomes could be kind of a good bargain once he gets all his pieces back, because if they can't run the ball, once they get, if think about it, if they get Rice, Worthy, Hollywood, Kelsey, and then you've got Thornton. He's got some weapons there, and I think we could see Mahomes, like the old version of Mahomes, later this year. But I'm not really on him as well. Again, I like to find the value at quarterback when I'm playing a DFS slate. I think that's where you can really take down a slate by getting that value quarterback stack. Next range, Stafford. He's interesting, but he gives you 0 rushing upside. I'm not big on Stafford's really got to throw 4 or 5 touchdowns and throw for over 300 yards. I don't know if he can do that against the Colts this week. So I really am off Stafford most of the time. I think there are better options than Williams, cheaper at 5,800, but I don't mind him against the Raiders. I'm off Daniel Jones this week. I think the Rams defense is going to get to Jones. I think Jones is going to look like the New York Giants Jones here this week. Drake May's interesting at 5,500. Panthers coming off a shutout of the Falcons, but they're the Panthers. They're not good. So May could be interesting, but I'm not going to him. I still like guys. I would rather, if you were wanting to get May, I think I'd rather just pay $100 less to get Geno against the Bears. That's my first interest at quarterback, is going to be really Geno Smith against the Bears defense. I like a lot of the Vegas pieces that, like, the Bears just give up points. So that's one I do like. I'm not touching Stroud, probably not Lawrence against the Niners. And Mac Jones is probably not going to play. Here's an interesting one at 5,100. This is going to be gross, so I'll give you a minute once I say it to throw up a little bit in your mouth. But Penix Envy, Michael Penix Jr. at 5,100. Nobody's going to be playing him because if you watched him last week, why would you? However, it's one game. Washington, I'm not that scared of that defense. Atlanta still has a lot of weapons. And if nobody's playing Penix Envy, they do still run a lot of plays. So if you just hope that last week was just kind of a weird game and then Atlanta's going to come back scoring 28, 30 points, Penix Envy is going to be a guy at 5,100 if nobody's going to be on, and I'm telling you, nobody's going to be on him. That could be a sneaky stack for this week that nobody will be playing. And then I guess we talked about Mariota at 5,000. Anyone that's under 5, the only one that I would look at would be Dart, but I'm not going to take Jackson Dart his first start against the Chargers. So he's one to watch, but I think he's not that much cheaper than Geno, and you can find value later on. So I think Geno is the one that I really do like. And then I think if you're doing a larger field, like if you're doing 20 or more entries, especially if you're doing 150, get a little bit of get a little bit of Penix in your life. So because that could be a sneaky one. But I think if I'm doing 1 to 3, I'm really looking at Geno. I might sprinkle in some Drake May, and then I think I may just stick with those guys. Spencer Rattler at 4,700. That could be interesting. They have thrown the ball quite a bit this year, and so it's a very nice stack. If you think the Saints, because the Bills defense is not one that I'm scared of. So if you think they're still going to throw the ball 40, 45 times, he's got a really small group that's getting the targets. It's Olave, it's Johnson, And then I think you could throw in Kamara, even though he has really not gotten the ball out of the backfield. So Rattlers won at 4,700. I would say that I wouldn't mind, because I think they could still put up 24 on the Bills this week. So that's it. If I'm doing one lineup, I'm taking Geno, and we'll work a Geno lineup here later on. So looking at the running backs, again, McCaffrey is I believe the highest player on the slate. Yeah, he is. There's two people over 8,000. It's McCaffrey at 8,500 and Bijan at 8,200 on the entire slate. I don't mind getting to McCaffrey. He's going to get 30 opportunities between rushing and receiving. And if you haven't watched it yet, because it's not dropped, but on my betting show I talked about it, where McCaffrey he is ninth in the league in rush attempts this year. And then if you're looking at targets, receptions, and receiving yards in the NFL, he is fifth in targets, fourth in receptions, and he's tied for 16th in receiving yards. So he is fourth in receptions as a running back. I think that continues until Kittle gets back. I think Jennings could be back this week. I don't think that's going to eat into it too much, because he was there that first week, and McCaffrey had 10 receptions, I believe, too. So I do like McCaffrey in any slate. And I think you can pay up for him with some of the value we have later on. I never mind Bijan either, but I'd rather, if I'm going to pay up, it's going to be McCaffrey over Bijan. Again, I talked about it. We talked about Goff. Gibbs at 7,700. I'm not into any of the Lions this week, I don't think, except for the Lions defense against the Browns. You have Barkley at 7,600, Taylor at 7,500, Henry 72, Cook 71. I think this is the range where you're going to see people pay up for. I think these are going to be some of the higher end owned players. James Cook is in a magnificent spot against the Saints. Cook could have a 3 touchdown game this week, but he could also have maybe just one, because they are doing it through the air. They could get a defensive touchdown. Who knows? So Cook is the way he plays, the way he's finding the end zone here over the last 17, 19 games, he's always in play. I think Derrick Henry can have a bounce back spot against the Chiefs. He's always going to be in play. Taylor has just looked phenomenal. I believe he is the RB1 in fantasy. And I don't mind him against the Rams, because he's going to get that volume. He's always has a 2 touchdown upside. And same with Barkley. That Buccaneers defense is nothing terrifying. And I think Barkley has not had that breakout game yet. This could be where it's at. So I don't mind any of these guys. If I still think I'd rather pay up and get McCaffrey over these guys, but if I had to pick one of these guys to take, I think I would go Barkley. And then you're getting under 7,000. You're going to have Bucky Irvin, Kyron Williams, Ashton Jeanty, Alvin Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, who was questionable, but I think he plays. He's got a calf, so I think he will they'll nurse that this week, and then I think he'll play. I'm not interested in him either way. Kamara, he just has not got the receiving volume that he has had in the past. So I'm kind of off him. Again, Genty's going to be the guy I'm going to focus on again, that entire Raiders offense. So at 6,200 for Jeanty against the Bears, I do like that. Williams is going to be touchdown dependent. He has just not been efficient as a runner most of his career, and most of his value comes on him finding the end zone. So I'm not on him. I'm not really on Bucky Irvin either. So in this area, it's going to be Jeanty for me. Then you get under 6,000. You've got some pretty good options here. You've got Hampton at 5,900. He's going to be the workhorse now that Najee Harris is out for the year. ETN at 5,800. I would rather just pay up for Hampton or pay down for these guys, or just get Jeanty, because I think Tootin's going to continue to get into his workload. Niners defense, even without Bosa, is still a pretty good defense. So I'm kind of out on ETN. Montgomery had a career game last week. I do not see that him back-to-back having multiple touchdowns. The Browns defense is tough. So again, I'm out on all the Lions. Pollard's just not been efficient. Houston's defense, that game's just gross. Judkins against the Lions. I don't mind that. I don't know how many people he may be popular because of last week. So, but he's right there next to Scatabo. So I think sometimes guys like that, Judkins could get overlooked because people may be more on Scatabo this week. So I don't mind either of them. DeAndre Swift is questionable. I think he was questionable last week as well. He's just got a hip. So I think he's just going to be working through this hip injury. He is averaging 17 touches and 71 yards from scrimmage. So he's okay. I'd rather have other people around him. I'm not on Krosky Merritt. 5,300. I'd rather just go down $100, take Travion Henderson. I think Travion Henderson is going to be pretty popular this week. I think people want to play him before he breaks out. And I don't see Stevenson really seeing the field much this week. So against the Panthers defense, that is not great. Henderson could have a couple long runs, break one to the house. So I do like Henderson in that game. I think New England can score some points there. You got Chubb, Stevenson, Pacheco, pass on all of them. They round out the 5,000 range. And then once you get under 5,000, if you want to take a flyer on Nick McNichols, you can. He had a 61-yard run last week. That kind of carried him. I think it's going to be between him, Rodriguez, and Krosky Merritt. So I don't think any of them is going to get the kind of volume that you need to really break a slate. Tootin is questionable, but he was questionable last week. So again, I don't like that Jacksonville side this week against the Niners. Kareem Hunt against the Ravens. At 4,800 could have some interest in. I think that could be a higher scoring game. He's going to get the goal line work, and he will get most of the passing work as well. Then you're going to get some backup guys all the way down. So there's nobody really under 5,000 that I am in love with wanting to play as a value. Kendrick Miller at 4,100. I'm not playing that for fantasy because that script has to be that the Bills just get up big early and then he just has a second half. You might look at some of his player props, rushing yards, that kind of stuff, if you think this game goes sideways and he gets a lot of run in the second half. So that's really it for the running backs. It's going to be very concentrated for me. If I was playing multiple lineups, is probably going to maybe be 7-8 guys total on the running back side. Again, if you have not yet, hit that like button, subscribe to the FanStream Sports channel. We would appreciate that, and you get great content all throughout the week with all our amazing shows here. So looking at wide receiver, you've got 4 that are over 7,000. Nacua, Nico Collins, the Sun God, and then Malik Neighbors, who is questionable. He's got a shoulder. He's been limited. But I would imagine they will want him to play with their rookie quarterback in. So if you look at he has gotten the targets. He's gotten 12, 13, and 7. But that was with Russell Wilson. So I think he's still going to get that kind of target share. I think the rookie is going to be looking at him a lot. And I think he could probably be more accurate than Russ has been. So Neighbors at 7,000. I do like that play. Again, St. Brown, I think he's just a guy, if you can get to him, get him in. But I really like Nacua this week. I know he's 7,900. But you pull him up. He's 10 receptions, 8 receptions, 11 receptions. He's had 35 targets through the first 3 weeks, and he's got 130, 91, 112. Each week as well, and he has not scored. He's not scored a touchdown in the air yet. He did rush one in, so I think he's due. I do like Nacua this week, and again with the savings we can do at quarterback and some of these stacks, especially like a Raider stack, I think we can get to Nacua. The next group of 6,000, you've got Egbuka, Flowers, McConkey, AJ Brown, Adunze, who would be a nice run back in that Raider stack because he is seeing a ton of targets. He's got 9, 11, and 7. He only had 3 receptions last week. He does have 4 touchdowns. Obviously, that is not going to be sustainable. That's going to be some little regression there, but I don't see why he couldn't score another touchdown against this Raiders defense. But he will be, if there's going to be a Raider stack, and I think people can play a Dunze by himself. He will probably be one of the more popular wide receivers because he's still at only 6,300. Yeah, Devonta Adams, who was questionable. Brian Thomas at 6,100, and then you got Debo at 6,000 with McLaurin being ruled out. I do like Debo. He was not targeted much last week. That was with Mariota when he had Daniels there. He had 8 and 10 targets, 7 receptions each game. He had 3 rushing attempts last week. I think that continues. I think you'll see the rushing. He'll get probably between 3 to 5 attempts each week with them still trying to figure out their running game. And you'd think without McLaurin, some of those targets that McLaurin got are going to go to Debo. And if we look at what McLaurin, his targets last week, let me get the right one. There we go. He is ruled out. He only had 4 targets last week. So hopefully Mariota is going to feel a little bit more confident this week throw-ins, but I don't mind Debo at 6,000. If Godwin comes back, I'm going to hold off on him until he's got a game or 2 under his belt playing. If there is a Lion offensive player that I would probably try to get to, it might be Jameson Williams at 5,900 because I think he could break a longer reception touchdown. This feels like kind of a Williams game. I think the Browns are going to probably try to stop St. Brown, so I think Williams could get a little run here in this game. Ted McMillan is questionable, but I'm still kind of off him. I think Christian Gonzalez is supposed to come back from his injury this week, and if Gonzalez is back, I can't see how they don't just shadow McMillan with Gonzalez, and there's really nobody else in the Panthers receiving core that scares me. So that could be a rough game for McMillan. Worthy is back, so he could be an interesting play against that Ravens secondary. It was a shoulder injury, so it's not like it was a lower leg where he's going to have issues, bursting off that or anything like that. So be one to look at. He looks like he is going to play this week. And then again, if you're looking at an Atlanta stack, you've got Drake London's at 5,700. That is an amazing price for Drake London. And he has had 27 targets through the first 3 weeks. Again, he has not scored a touchdown either. So I do like London if you have an Atlanta stack, or even as a one-off. Just at 5,700 for a guy like Drake London is criminal. Pearsall is questionable. Coleman, DJ Moore could be a contrarian option if you are going to stack the Raiders and then you wanted to have a bring back and you did not want a Dunze. Moore, it could be a contrarian one. He's been pretty consistent, 5, 6, 5 targets each of the first 3 weeks. So I don't mind that if you want to get a little different. And he is cheaper than a Dunze. McLaurin is out. We got Quentin Johnston. Like I just think with these Chargers receivers, I think if you're taking Charger receivers, you just want to do a stack because with Allen, Johnston, and McConkey, trying to figure out which one is going to be the guy each week is going to be super frustrating. So I think if you're playing the Chargers, just do a stack, and I would double stack with Herbert. A guy that I do like is Jacoby Myers this week against the Bears. He only had 4 targets last week with 3 receptions, but the previous 2 weeks he had 10 and 12 targets. I think people may want to try to get on Trey Tucker again this week because he's going to be a lot cheaper. But give me the more consistent Myers against this Bears secondary. So I think if I'm playing, we'll do a Geno stack here, and I'll probably do a double stack. Coming back down through here, Olave is interesting because if you look at Olave, his targets, he's had 36 targets through 3 weeks. and his receptions are 7, 6, and 10. So, but he's only had 54, 54, 57 yards each time. So these are some shorter targets for him, but DraftKings is a PPR format. So if you're telling me he's going to get between 6 and 10 receptions a game and he's getting 12 targets a game, I have no problem getting to Olave at 5,100 on that. Again, another guy, Mooney, if you're looking at Atlanta, is one I don't mind. I think I'm off on Travis Hunter until he gets more run at wide receiver, but it sounds like what Cohen was talking about, that they're just going to play him in one specific spot. They're not going to move him around, and they just want him to kind of learn both sides of the ball this year. So I'm kind of out on Hunter probably for the rest of the year. Diggs is an interesting one if you want to do a Drake May stack, because I think more people could be on Butte, but Diggs, he's been underwhelming. So it could be one of these games where I think he could maybe have a breakout game there. Again, I'm not really on a New England stack anyways. Trey Tucker, again, he's at 4,200, but I want to say last week was probably a little weird, although he did have 8 targets the previous week, but only 3 receptions. So I'm going to be more on Bowers and Myers than I am with Tucker. And if he burns me, then so be it. Looking at tight ends, Bowers is top tight end, 5,800. And then there's a $1,000 drop to Kelsey, Warren, Kincaid. I like them both. Laporta is one where he's 4,400. Laporta is going to be a solid play. It's just if he finds the end zone, this could be one of those weeks if the Browns are shutting down the outside. It could be one of those weeks where Laporta gets 6, 7 receptions and finds the end zone. Mark Andrews, again, does what Mark Andrews does, sucks for 2 weeks, and then he goes off for 691 and 2 touchdowns. So I think he's going to be in play against the Chiefs. Juwan Johnson's getting the volume, 12, 9, and 8 targets. So I don't mind him at all. Zach Ertz, he was only targeted 3 times last week. So depending what Mario's going to do, who he's going to find, but with McLaurin out, Ertz could see a little tick up there. So at 4,100, he and Hunter Henry both, and Hunter Henry's at 4,000. I do like them both in their matchups for tight ends if you want to go a little cheaper tight end. And I think the only other guy that I think I would look at tight end would be Kyle Pitts. He's had 7, 4, and 4 receptions. He has not found the end zone, which that's just what Kyle Pitts does. But he could be a sneakier play at 3,600. And then Colston Loveland is questionable. So if he does miss with a hip injury, and they could sit him, hey, he's a rookie. We've got these other weapons. We got Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet then could be a nice run back if you're doing a Raiders stack, or if you're doing a Bear stack, throwing Kmet in there. I do like that. And the other one to watch is if Will Dissly misses. He has not been productive anyways. He's had a target each game, but if he misses at the end of that Chargers game, I think Gadsden had like 3 receptions on that one of the last drive. So yeah, it was his first game in with any kind of action. He had 7 targets, 5 receptions, 46 yards. So I think Gadsden could be a sneaky tight end play at only 2,600 if Dissly misses. With the Giants defense there, I think Gadsden could be a goal line target as well. But that is as low as I would go there. So let's build a lineup. Let me throw a defense in first. I'm not a big guy of I don't really care on defenses. I'd rather pay down. When you're looking at DFS defenses, what you want to do, you want to look at a defense a lot of times that they're at home, that they are favored, and that they're going to be in a situation where they're ahead and the other team's going to have to pass, because that's what you're going to get. And with defenses, you can never predict touchdowns. And if you didn't have the Vikings the other day, you were kind of screwed. So you can't really predict that. So what you want to do is get yourself the best position where you think a team's going to be able to rush the passer and it could give opportunities for sacks, interceptions, and pick sixes. So I think, and again, I don't like paying up unless there's just a spot where it looks too good and you have the money, but I'd rather pay down because I'd rather pay up in the other spots. So I like this week. I do like the Rams at 2,900 against the Colts. I know the Colts will try to run the ball, but if they can stop Taylor and they get in third and longs, I think they could give Jones a little bit of trouble. Jones could throw an errant pass. That's really the only defense that I really like that's under $3,000. So I'm just going to throw the Rams in at 2,900, and then we'll kind of go from there. Like I said, I really like the Geno stack. Geno's only 5,400. So if we're going Geno, I told you that I liked Myers over Tucker. So I'm going to throw Myers in. And then I'm going to throw Jeanty in as well. Like I know a lot of times you don't want to stack with a running back. And if you look at him, he's had 2 targets, 4 targets, no targets over the first 3 weeks. I just think as at a running back, it's going to be one where if people are doing a Raider stack, I think they're going to go with either just Myers, just Bauer, or they're going to double stack a wide receiver tight end or 2 wide receivers. I think throwing Jeanty in there, you can't tell me that Jeanty can't catch a screen pass and take it 50 yards to the house against the Bears defense. So I'm going to go a little bit different with my stack. I think Geno probably targets Myers quite a bit, and I think Jeanty's going to be able to eat on the ground. So that's going to be my stack. I think I will do a run back sometimes, depending on what the matchup is. I won't do a run back if I don't think that team's going to score a lot. I do think the Bears can, so I think I'm going to go contrarian and take deep. No, you know what? Since I'm not using Bowers, give me Cole Kmet on the run back. That's going to be, I think, pretty contrarian. And then let me get off this game, get back to it. And then if I take, let's see if I can get McCaffrey in, and let's see if I can get Nacua in. Let's see what that leaves me with. That leaves me with 53.50 per player. I need a receiver and a flex spot. So let me see. Like, I do kind of like, if I want to get to some of this Atlanta game, which is the other game I kind of liked, I maybe get Drake London in there at 5,700, which leaves me 5,000 in the flex. So let's see where that will take me. Nothing great there. Let me see here. Let me get off of London, and let me see if I decided then to go Mooney, because if I still want a piece of that game, maybe Mooney gets a couple long bombs, and that leaves me with 6,000. It gives me a little bit more, and then maybe gives me that I can get Daniel, I can get a Debo, I can get Hampton. It does open things up. I can also get Bowers if I want to go double tight end, but I don't know if I want to go a triple Raider stack. So, although I could just, all right. That gives me 400 million. So I could just go complete game stack of that Raiders Bears game and get Geno at quarterback with Jeanty and Myers with his stack, with a double run back of Moore and Kmet, and then having McCaffrey, Nacua, Mooney, and the Rams defense. I don't really like that, because if I'm doing a double run back, I kind of like having a running back and a receiver as part of that. So let's say if we get off McCaffrey and we just go down a little bit more, and let's see if we throw in, let's go double. Let's just do a double rookie running back. Let's get Henderson at 5,200 against that Panthers defense. I think this could be a game where they just see what Henderson has, and he gets the majority of the touches. That leaves us with 9,300 so that we can have whoever. What if we do that? What if we just throw Henderson in, and then we can still get McCaffrey? So we have the Raider stack with Geno, Jeanty, and Jacoby Myers. Then you have the run back with Komet, and then you have Henderson as your other running back, Nacua, Mooney, McCaffrey. And then we have 800 left. So if we want to go up from Mooney, that gives us 5,500. We almost could get Drake London. Let's do this. Let's go Drake London. So we have Myers, Nacua, London at a receivers. Let's get off the Rams defense because, again, defenses, I don't care. And let's see what defense is left that I'm like, the Browns defense, I don't know. I think the Lions are just going to run the ball like crazy. You know what? Let's go a little crazy. Let's take the Ravens defense at Kansas City. I think they can stop the run. Mahomes got to throw a ton. They have not looked great. Mahomes can get a little squirrely and throwing some picks. So that's the lineup we'll go with. Smith, Jeanty, Travion Henderson, Jacoby Myers, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Cole Kmet, Christian McCaffrey, and the Ravens defense. So I kind of like how that worked out. So that is the Slating Rink. I will give out on X later on this week. It is Friday, so I still have till tomorrow. The official lineup. This week could be 1-2. I might play a 3 max lineup as well on that. So thanks for listening. And as always, I now return you back to a forward all slate.